Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Friday, and happy end of May. Welcome to Cultivating Conversations. I am your host, Stacy T. Cultivating Conversations is a podcast that is a safe space where we have thought-provoking conversations about life, love, the pursuit of happiness, everything in between. We talk about hard topics that may be difficult to discuss, but they need to be discussed. Why? Because we want to be healed and be living our best life. I always say on my podcast, in order for something to grow, there has to be seed in the ground. And in order for that seed to grow, the ground has to be cultivated. So the whole purpose of Cultivating Conversations is to cultivate the hearts and the minds of those who come in to listen. So those of you who are here for the first time, hey, Darlene, welcome. Listen, it has been a day, okay? We know that if you in New York, it is raining, it is crazy out. I did a lot of running around. So I did my best to pull myself together, but tonight is going to be an amazing night. So if you are joining for the first time, welcome. If you are returning and you've been rocking with me, what's up? Happy Friday. And if you are catching the replay, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and listen and hear what it is I have to say. So tonight, this is season 2, and this is the last episode for season 2, episode number 25. And as custom, I'm always asking God, like, what is it that you want me to talk about tonight? Like, what is it that we want to do this week? What topic do you want me to tackle? And I really didn't know what I was going to do. And then this beautiful queen and we're going to talk about this. We was trying to figure out who is the middleman, who is the person that we know. I can't think of the word because my mind is just all over the place. But who is the person that is responsible for the two of us becoming Facebook friends, and we still haven't really figured it out? So if you are the person and you show up tonight, please say it is I. But I met this queen on Facebook, and listen, we cannot discredit connections, whether it's somebody that you meet in person. We know that we live in a social media age, so you are liable to meet anybody at any given time that's going to help push you into your next level, push you into where you need to be, help you do whatever it is that you need to do. So this young, beautiful woman and we met, we connected, we was DMing each other every now and then, and she has a great initiative, great things that she is doing. So I asked her, I think the beginning of this week, like, do you want to be on my podcast? Because y'all know that I'm all about support, right? I'm all about support. And she said, okay. So I'm excited to have her. It is a holiday weekend, even though it is ghetto outside. It is raining and it is cold and it is just not what we wanted Memorial Day weekend to be, right? But here we are. We're alive, so we can't complain. So I'm going to bring this beautiful woman on to Cultivating Conversations, but I'm going to read her bio really quickly, okay? So Candice A. Whigham, and I hope that I'm not butchering your last name. Candice is a wife, a mother, an educator, an entrepreneur, and author of the Urban Chronicles of Mia Lewis, and the editor of the soon-to-be released To Black Girls Everywhere. As a woman who is Black, her goal is to help young girls and women who are Black in particular to desire more and obtain more using words of wisdom and love deeds. I love it already, because for those of you who know me, you know that I have a heart and a passion to see us women win, particularly Black women, because I'm Black as well. So without further ado, let me bring my good sis onto the screen. And let me just tell you before I bring her, here's my little disclaimer. The Wi-Fi where I live is very janky. So I might freeze, I may not. I'm hoping not, but if I do, just rock with me, just bear with me. I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. So without further ado, let me bring my good sis on, Candice Whigham. Hey sis.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm excited about being here. Thank you so much for having me. This is
Thank you for
truly a
accepting my
pleasure and a blessing.
Thank you for accepting my invite. I really, really appreciate it. So let's get started. So tell us about who is Candice. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Whigham? Uh,
Whigham. Okay, I got
yes.
it right. Okay, so tell us
Yes.
who you are.
Well, I as you mentioned, all of those things. I have I don't think you mentioned this, but I am I've been teaching for actually almost 20 years, right? So I've had experience in the classroom for a long time and just witnessed so many different things. And I guess that's what we're going to get into now. Just witness so many different things that you know, I love to teach. I love to teach. I love to minister. I love to just share words of wisdom that I've learned over the years, whether it be from my grandparents, whether it be from my just people I'm around that I've learned from, and most importantly from God, the Most High God. Yes.
I know
So
that's
that's
right.
most of what I want to share right now about who I am.
Wonderful. So what made you get into teaching? Like,
Well, to be honest with you, let me share something with you. I was actually going to major in psychology, and I remember a professor. He said that most people who major in psychology are crazy, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to be crazy. I don't want none of that. I got too many things going on already. You know that I'm privy to. That
right.
I don't want to be. I don't want that to be a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, okay, well, the next best thing would be to teach. And from there, I've been saying, oh, I'm not going to do that in and out. And then, but that has just been what I believe that I'm called to do. Now, whether it's always to be in the classroom, probably not, but it's also to teach wherever I am. And so, and I think that that's one of the things that we kind of get. You have to be in a classroom. You have to be this, but no, it's wherever you are is where you can teach and minister. And so that's where I am. Yeah,
No, that's
that's
good. That's good. And I mean, I feel like just with that comment, that's
mm,
what separates teachers from educators.
mm,
I don't have a teacher degree, but I feel
mm,
like there's a difference between a teacher and an educator. Someone that is doing it for a paycheck and
yeah.
someone that is doing it because it is a love that they
Mm-hmm.
have. So that's really good. What grade do you teach, or what area?
Right now, I'm in elementary. Right now, let me tell you, I've taught elementary, which I'm doing now. I've taught high school, and I've also taught some college. So the only
Wow.
the only grade that I have not touched was level I had not touched was middle school, and I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, middle school is a
Not in the
trip.
classroom anyway.
Yeah, middle school is a trip. Not as an educator I'm speaking from, but I'm
Could
speaking
you
as a
repeat that for me?
parent. I said I middle school is a trip. Middle
Say
school,
it again.
there's a lot going on in middle school. And I'm not speaking from an educator standpoint. I'm speaking from a parent that has two children. So I always tell like the teachers, like middle school teachers, I used to always tell them thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. I
Yes,
appreciate you. Because that middle, it's crazy.
I
It
can
is
believe it. I have
it's
somebody.
crazy.
I have a preteen right now, and it's just amazing to see the change. And I love her. Still love her, but whew, it's something.
Girl. Yeah, I have two girls. So
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
oh
So yes.
so you pray for me and I pray for you.
Yes,
Right?
please.
Right.
Yes.
Well, mine is 16 and well, soon to be 16, and my oldest is going to be 20. So they're out of the middle school kind of thing. I made it out alive. I don't
Yes.
have any more bald
Bless you.
spots. Got my right mind, Jesus. So yeah,
Well,
so
hey, I am right like at the beginning. I'm leaving out of elementary and going into middle school, and that's on it's on up from there. But the journey, I'm just gonna ride it out.
yeah, just gotta write it out. It does get better. It definitely does get
You
better.
know,
Each
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead. That's all I was gonna say. It
What
gets better.
what I was gonna say was, they still love on me. That's one of the great things. They still love on me. We love on each other, but it's still that ooh kind of thing going on. And then when they get this ooh, and then I love you, mama. All of that just kind of melts away. But I can feel that it's going to be something different in years to come. Bless you with the twins.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she has that's my auntie. She has twins. But one of the things that I learned, and we're gonna get into, the dear black girl and everything. One of the things that I learned, and you tell me what you think about this, like, I learned a lot from my mom. And I learned a lot based on like the things that she did and the things that she could not do, because my bishop used to always say there's no rehearsal for this life. There's no rehearsal for this life. So I learned a lot from my mom. And I there are things that she didn't do that I wanted to instill. And I can say that with my children being the age that they are, they're not going to tell me everything, but like my oldest, she calls me her best friend, and she's 19. And that means the world to me. Now, she knows I'm not your friend. Don't play me and don't play with me. But, she talks to me just about anything, about just about anything.
That's
and
awesome.
But it's something that started when they were younger so that they could be comfortable, because there's so many girls, who feel like they don't have that camaraderie, if you will, with their mother, that you talk to her about everything, and that's how you get into the streets and all of that. What do you think about that? As a mom of girls.
Oh yes, actually, when you were saying that, I was thinking about my mom, and she is actually the book is also in dedication to her, to Black girls everywhere. There's a part in there where she was always this gentle woman. She had this femininity about her that I didn't understand, because I was in an environment that didn't have that type of Black womanhood around. And so my mom was an alien to me, and which is crazy now that I think about it. But she was an alien to me because I wanted to see her get ghetto and get ratchet, because that was what she portrayed, was white, if you would. And even just talking about that, just the messed up mindset that was there. And I don't think it's just me that had that mindset as well. But now as I've gotten older, and I just really appreciate her, how she didn't just let up. She always wanted to share. She always wanted to make sure that I was in a feminine space. Even when I didn't want to, she was there, and I just appreciate that. Now, everything I didn't get from her, a lot of stuff I got from just observation. There were some things, and she's an older woman. So older women didn't talk as much about different things that was going on in their lives.
Right.
But what I can say is her mother, my grandmother, she was very, very vocal. And I think she was vocal because I asked questions. And when you ask questions, and I think that's a piece that that a lot of our girls don't necessarily understand, that they can ask questions, because a lot of times they get shut down when there's a question to be asked or anything like that. But I was very observant as well. And so I asked my grandmother questions. Girl, I would be asking questions that I don't think no kids should ever have. But you know what? I'm very thankful that she did. She was very vocal.
It's funny that you should say that because there's been so many people that have grown up in an era where it was the don't ask, don't tell, stay in
Mm-hmm.
child's place, don't ask
Yeah.
questions. And I it's interesting for you to share the dynamic that your mom was quiet,
Mm-hmm.
but your grandmother wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, my thought process is it's the higher up in ancestry you go, the quieter it gets, and it's almost like it kind of.
Yeah, I want you to repeat that when you get a chance.
I was saying that it's you would think that the higher up in ancestry you go,
Mm.
the
Mm-hmm.
quieter it would get. So it's interesting to see the dynamic that it wasn't your mom that was answering the questions, but it was your grandmother. Because a lot of times it's like, we've heard of those errors where it's like you don't ask questions, you be
Right.
seen and not heard kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I want to say this. My mom, she may have asked, she may have answered, but I just didn't feel like she was the person that I should go to ask those questions.
Okay.
I don't understand how I didn't think that. I don't know, but now I do. And so, and she's able to share more, I guess, because I'm older. She's able to share more of things that I did not know that she would have shared.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I didn't give her the opportunity to do that. Let me say that. I may not have given her the opportunity to share what she could have or would have shared. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm very thankful for my grandmother to actually be that person to share.
Yeah, at least it was somebody. There's so many women like our
Yeah.
age, younger, older, who didn't have anybody. Either
Mhm.
they got no information or they got misinformation.
Yes. Yes.
Because there are a lot of older women, they say that, with age comes maturity, but it's not always the case.
No.
Man or woman, you
Mhm.
know. So
Mhm.
it's a blessing that there was somebody. It's funny that you would talk about your mom because I grew up in the projects.
Mhm.
And so I said to myself that I was not going to raise my girls the way I was raised.
Hmm.
So I live in Westchester. They go to a predominantly white school. And maybe it's innately in them because deep down, like you can't take the ghetto out of me and some, but they love to be in the Bronx. They love like all of that. And then
Uh-huh.
you have me, so there's like this dichotomy with them where it was like, I don't want to go to school, with all of the, the other folks, I want to be down in the tri-state area, but I'm like, but I'm not gonna have you down there because, people fighting and carrying on and things like that. And I'm like, why are you not liking this area? It's so wonderful. But they like the excitement of being down, in the hood. So at least I know if they down there, they can make it,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
not where we live in. Because I've done that and I'm not gonna subject you to that. So I kind of feel like your
Mhm.
mom, like the dynamic with you and your mom is like me and my girls a little bit. So that's interesting.
And interestingly enough, my mom, I would always like, um, just kind of say, "Oh, mom, you're bougie" and all of that, But how she grew up was nothing, like
Mm.
you were saying, nothing like how she is. She grew up in poverty.
Mm.
She grew up in not the best areas. They had to move around. But, my grandmother, she, even though they had to move around and she was by herself, she made sure that her children knew that they were loved. She made sure that they had some stability within themselves, that they knew without a shadow of a doubt that they have their mother and that their mother loved them. And
Mm.
she would not let them think that just because this is where you are doesn't mean that's who you are. That's how
That's important.
we raised them. And, so she definitely is that type of woman. And I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's jump into
Let's
all
do
of
it.
this loveliness that you have going on. So tell us about this first. I believe it was your first book.
Yes.
Okay.
The Urban Chronicles of Mia Lewis. It is a coming of age book. It's of a Mia who grew up in the South, who finally went. She grew up in the South. She went to college at. I did put a shout out to my college, which is Wiley College. Woo-hoo, home of the great debaters. First black school west of the Mississippi.
Mm.
Okay, so just wanted to throw that out there. So Mia ended up going to Wiley College. She actually got an intern at a counseling session, a counseling agency in the Midwest. She had never gone to the Midwest before, but she was able to use all of those Southern charms, all of those Southern things that she learned to navigate through her journey in life as a counselor at the New Start Counseling Agency. And so, we get a chance to see how she experienced things and the different things that she experienced while in the Midwest. And it was an eye opener for her. And so, she was able to navigate because of her upbringing. And it's just a lot of things in there that I've heard personally have just saw and I've experienced. And it's not about me. There were a couple of people were like, "Oh, this is about you." I'm like, "Nah, it's not about me."
Uh-huh.
But as a writer, I believe you do use some of your experiences and you give it to that character, to make her or him, whomever, seem more real. And so it was an interesting book. I enjoyed the ride. And from what other people shared, they've enjoyed the ride with Mia. And so they're kind of looking for number 2. And so we'll see, y'all. We'll see.
I was gonna ask you 2 things. So one, what was the inspiration behind the book and behind the character that you created? Especially because it's not about you. So
Well, the inspiration behind it definitely was to show how, as a Black girl who grew up in a particular area, that's not where you have to end up. You're in the southern area, and it's country, and it's not many people have heard of it before, and things go on in that area, but this is not where your end has to be. And so with her shifting to going to college and to being a counselor, that was that journey. It was like showing the journey of a young Black girl in a small area who did not allow where she was to be who she was. If that makes sense.
No, it does. I feel
then I think the second part of that, what was the second question? You have to ask me the second question, because sometimes I just forget what my forget sometimes. I'm sorry, I got little things. But
part
the second question.
Is it going to be
what was the
part
question?
2?
That's the plan. That's the plan. And I think that it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good. One of my the readers who is actually an author too, she was like, "Okay, I'm ready for the sequel." And I'm like, "Okay, as you know, books, time and having writing and all that, it takes time, and I just got to get it all together." And I am, because I do have my thoughts about where Mia is going to end up, because again, this journey of womanhood as being Black it's a journey, and it goes from when you're born up until you leave this earth. Right. So the journey is going to continue with Mia.
I love it. I feel like it can be a screenplay. Like it can be a movie, especially just the way that you speak about Mia, like speaking about her as if like she is a real person. speaking about Mia like she's a real person. And I
Mhm.
feel like, and I'm gonna get the book, but it almost feels like anybody that picks up the book can see themselves in Mia, you know,
Yes.
regardless of where she went to school at. I went to school up north, but just
Mhm.
whatever, just the whole, it sounds, that sounds like a great, I like
Thank you.
that.
And it can be found on Amazon.com. So just definitely put in the Urban Chronicles of Mia Lewis, and then it'll come up. So yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
I'll make sure to look it up and put it in the chat when this is over, when
Okay,
the
thank you.
our live is over. All right. So let's move on to this to Black girls everywhere. So tell us about that.
All right. So I think that to Black girls everywhere, it definitely is Mia is a part of that as well. As I said, being an educator and being in a classroom and seeing so many different types of students, because black women, black girls, we're not a monolith. We have so many different dynamics, so many different classes we're a part of, so many different personalities, and there was this one particular situation in a class where I was in, and I only had 3 Black girls in the class, right? And which was probably the first time that has ever happened to me. But these 3 girls, whenever they were together, it was always an eruption. Something always happened that was hostile. And I wondered, I was like, this can't be something that's inherent for us, because whenever these girls got together, like I said, it was a hostile situation, but when they were with other girls, they were okay. And so had a little meeting with these 3 babies, and I said, what do y'all think the problem is? I don't know, she this, and you know how it goes. And then I said, but what do you guys have in common? I want you to look at yourself. What do you have in common? And so they looked at each other and they could not come up with anything. And I said, guess what, babies? Y'all Black. That's the commonality. Y'all
Right.
Black. Why is it that when you guys are together, it's like a combustion? I think I'm using the word white. There's like just things just start
Combustion.
eruption. Yeah, it just started happening. And they couldn't get it together. I said, well, you know what? This don't have to be. This does not have to be. You can get along with each other, and you can get along with others as well. But you have a commonality that seemingly should at least be the reason why you should connect. Because I know, and you probably remember, we're around the same age. Whenever we went anywhere and we saw Black people, we were like, hey, how y'all doing?
Family.
It was like that extra, oh my gosh, another Black person.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's no connection. It's just you're okay. There's no love. There's no
Yeah.
we in the same spot together. Nothing.
Yeah. There's no connection.
And so when I got not only that part, but I also just noticed that there was different things that were happening amongst us, and that was happening individually. That was like something we weren't told. There's something we were not privy to. And so I've reached out, and I want to say rich. That's the old Southern word. I reached out to you guys, women and aunties, as I call it, and I just say, what is it that you didn't get when you were younger, and you wished you should have or could have, and you guys poured in, and you shared all of that wisdom. This is what I should have received, because something happened. There is something that has happened within the Black womanhood or womanhood collectively while being Black. Because I think one of the things too is that we forget that we're women, and we put on the trope of just Black. But as women, there are some things that are just special to us.
Right.
And of course, in being Black as well, there are some things that are being special, that are special. So those combinations of the two just makes us amazing. It makes us amazing, but we don't know that. There's something that we don't know. And so I thought, hey, we need to share this with the girls. These babies that are coming up, they need to know. So what can we share to these girls who will most likely see this book, and they'll at least start thinking about it? Because I don't know if there is not a thought, but it's not much thought and not much conversation. And I know it goes with what we were talking about, with the parents not sharing, or the mothers not sharing, and somebody not sharing. But this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of chaos right now. So something has to happen. And I don't think it's all lost. And someone just said it was lost in translation. The girls got lost in translation. Yeah, we've definitely transitioned. We moved from different things, and a lot of valuable things were lost that made us women, and appreciate our Blackness on top of that. So we have to be about the business of making sure that happens, so it won't continue to happen.
I love it. I love it. We've been so busy surviving.
Yes.
That we haven't had a chance to. I shared last year in my first season. I did this whole thing with hair and Black hair around Juneteenth. And I learned so much about how in Africa, because we all should know by now that our history as Black people didn't start when we got to the shores of America,
right.
But there's this whole other history that we don't know about. So as I was digging, I kept seeing information about when they did hair and they did rituals in Africa, like they passed down all of these things, like all of these things were passed down. And now, especially in this tech age, this information age, this reality, which is such a false narrative age, that is what is growing our girls up. Reality TV and TikTok and fights. I can't express how many videos my girls showed me about girls fighting, and now they have this thing where they will actually text or go or slide up on somebody's snap. I'm probably saying it wrong, and they'll say, "Send me your address. I want to fight you." And I was like, "What kind of stupidity? You want to take an Uber or get a Metro card to go to somebody's house and fight them, and for what?" But this is what we see on TV. Absolutely. This is what we see. We see each other fighting, and that's why the conversation that we had before we started, and I was talking about Ma'Khia Bryant, who every time I say her name, it just irritates me. Not so much of the fact that she was shot, which that's at the end of the day, like that's the big thing. But my whole thing is the aftermath and the lack of conversation that we as a community had regarding her life and everything that boiled up to that point where these girls showed up, and how did she end up in foster care, and her father is living because she called him, and all of this. And I know that it's a lot to unpack, and as Black people, we have so much. It's like every time we try to unpack something, it's layer after layer after layer. But I'm like, well, we got to start somewhere. Absolutely. We got to start somewhere. And I think that the backdrop of the story, because let me just put the plug here and tell y'all that I am one of the contributors.
Yes, you are.
Everywhere. And I didn't even know. I had no idea. I had no idea. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm excited, but I'm proud. And this is why it pays to, this is a side note, just open up yourself to people and connections. Like, we don't know each other like that. But you inboxed me, you reached out to me, And as soon as we're talking about like young girls and black girls and black women, like I'm all for it. And I said yes, and I had no idea that it was going to be this. And just for you to tell the story of the backdrop, the root cause of, you know, this book, and how it started with these three girls, and you know, just the what was missing, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible. So how long did it take you to compile like all of the advice from the aunties and everyone?
It took me about, I think about 6 to 7 months. Um, it took about, because I wanted to give so many people opportunity to share, and some did. Most of it, you guys did. And then there were those who didn't, which is fine. Everybody has, the right to do, to decline. And, so I wanted to just reach out to as many women that I could, and to hear from them so that they could actually be able to share what they did not know or share what they didn't know prior, because a lot of this, we're just trying to get through it. We're trying to get through, like you said, we're trying to survive, and we're getting through life. And some things we stumbled upon, and some things we may have, and I want to say this too, some things we may have heard, but it wasn't constantly drilled in, that it was just like, okay, well, I don't see it. So out of sight, out of mind, this is what I see. So this must be what it is.
Right.
And I don't think that, and I don't want to say we're not given the opportunity to see something different. I think that sometimes we're not allowing ourselves to see something different as well. You know what I mean? And so when those two different things come up or together, it could be good or bad. It can play itself out good or bad if we're listening to the wisdom, or if we heard the wisdom and we decide that, hey, this is me, I don't want it. So it's tricky with us sometimes, because again, these are the images that we see of ourselves. And so when we see something different, it's kind of like weird.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so when it's weird, I'd rather not go with the weird. I'll go with what's common or comfortable. And we've been socially engineered, Stacey, on a lot of things. I was thinking about this earlier. In my home, I really try to get my girls, whenever they're watching something, I really want them to see things that have watch cartoons or shows that is a representation of them, that has a representation of them. Preferably a brown girl. I know we have biracial girls that are really out there, and that's fine. Hey, that's their lane, and I'm definitely not mad at that. But I want them to see someone that looks like them.
Right.
And if you watch television with your kids, or if you've seen any shows, sometimes it's really hard to get that representation. I know for me, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s in high school, but there wasn't a lot. Well, the music, we had a lot of girl groups who had brown girls and all of that. But as it relates to regular television, we had A Different World, which I love. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
I watch that show to this day.
Right.
A Different World. And then we had the Cosby. But even outside of that, because it was a mainstay, you were able to see yourself. But outside of that, you didn't really see that many shows that had brown girl faces. And so what I did in my mind, I have rationalized how some of the girls that I saw. So if they had brown hair or dark hair, I was like, oh, okay, she could be like me. If she had some full lips, even though she was not black at all, she had something that reminded me of myself. I pulled from that, because it was not something that was common. And so when my girls are watching television, I'm constantly telling them, babies, I'm doing this because I want you to see yourself. I know what social engineering, they don't know that, but I know how social engineering can make you feel like you're less than because you don't see.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this may be another little pivot into something else, but unfortunately, now that you have more people who look like us that are in spaces where they can create, they just don't necessarily show girls that look like the ordinary black girl either.
Yeah.
So, it's like, so we have to create those spaces for them, and we have to constantly remind them that, hey, you are special. You deserve, to be treated with respect as you give respect. You are worthy of those things as well, because it's just, it seems as though it's automatically given to others, as we can see, even though we're not responsible for well, we're more responsible for content creation now, but before now, those people who created, they created to make sure that their images were positive and their images was beautiful. And I am not mad with that. That makes sense.
Right.
But when it comes to those who don't have that, what is that going to do to them? What does that do to what me? So we have to start thinking about what does look good, what does make us beautiful, and what make us beautiful doesn't necessarily look like us.
Right. Yeah. Which is why there's, and I've said this before and I ain't scared. When I look at us, right, and I look at the timeline and what we see, a good portion of us talking about black women, everybody looks the same. Everybody looks the same. And it's based off of this one prototype that has been created. And then from that prototype that's created, that is, like you said, what the norm looks like. That is
Right.
what black beauty is. So now we
Mm-hmm.
have us who are trying to conform,
Mm-hmm.
surgery, shots, extensions, all of those things, to conform to that. And then where does that leave the ordinary looking black woman who is actually what's normal and what is beautiful? But it's
Right.
because that's what's being fed to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's being fed to us. And I feel like if there's enough of us who can, and it's not just us, it has to be, men as well. It has to be the appetite. If we can change the appetite, the only way to change the appetite is to really, you got to change the narrative. And the only way to change the narrative is to get them while they're young, while they're impressionable, before they get sucked into
Right.
this whole hype. And like that's what I did with my children. Like, you don't need to get a relaxer.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a wig or whatever because you feel like it,
Right.
not because you feel like it's a necessity. And if you don't
Absolutely.
change that, then we're not doing that, because you're
Mm-hmm.
beautiful with who you are. And if we can do that, and I feel like this book is not only going to, I just feel like it's not only going to be for young girls, but it will also be for us. Because if truth be told, when I sent you my piece, I started, and maybe it's just me because I'm over analytical just by default, but I just started to think about, the things that wasn't said to me. And if we be truthful with ourselves in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, if we could go back, like, how many things do we still have to unlearn that we were taught, so that the rest of our life can be the best of our life, and we don't succumb to what we have succumbed to since we
Right.
were young up until this point. So I feel like
Right.
this book, when it says to Black girls everywhere, is literally like not just the young girl, but
Mm-hmm.
the older woman.
Yeah.
Like me and my friends can sit and see what she said and think
Mm-hmm.
about, like, did you learn that? Did somebody say that to you? Like, how did
Mm-hmm.
that impact you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's wonderful.
Thank you. When you were saying that, I was thinking about, because um, the one thing that I do want to happen here is that the mothers and the daughters, or a mother figure, is reading this with the girl. Because then mothers are able to share, okay, hey, I didn't know this, or I did know this and I didn't know what to do with it. So that conversation can be built in for the mother and the daughter, or the mother figure and the daughter, because sometimes the mother's not going to do it, and sometimes the mother is not there.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
another things that is happening right now. A lot of our mothers are not present,
Yeah.
whether they're
Mhm.
through death, or they're drug addiction, or they're just checked out.
Right.
They're not there.
Right.
And so, but our girls still there's still a need that they have.
Absolutely.
And it's
Absolutely.
not, and I maybe not be that person. It may be another woman, it may be a cousin, somebody, that could sit down and talk with that young lady, or girls, or young woman, and say, hey, this is how this should go. And so again, that was probably um the most important thing that I wanted to get out of this, is that mothers have the conversations, or mother like figures have the conversations with their daughters or girls, so that that conversation, they can know that, hey, you're not going through this alone. And this is not just your lot.
And you're
And
not
I
the
think that, because
first.
I used to wonder when I was younger, it was just a lot of things. And let me just say this: I had my dad that was in the home, and he was very active, and he was always talking to us. And I used to think he was kind of crazy, but I really appreciate him now. But so he was just always constant us, telling us we need to think, we need to use our common sense, always doing that. My mom was the sweet dainty, like, so it was just the balance that I had with both of them. And so I think that I am more observant because of him, and the things that he had constantly talked to us about. But the thinking piece about just things that are going on around us. I know we don't like to watch, we say that we don't like to watch the news and all of that wonderful stuff, which I understand, because a lot of it is negative. But I also, on Facebook, there's this page called Black Femicide. And on there, good night, on there, it's every day there are Black women that are being killed every day. And they have children. So most of them have children. So where are those children going to go?
Right.
What guidance are they going to have? And when that important piece of mother is not there, for whatever reason, but definitely in what we're talking about now, where are these kids going to get that information from, especially the girls?
Right.
Especially. And unfortunately, we've been seen as the backbone of the community, which I don't necessarily,
Yeah.
I think that that's too much to be put on one person, one group
Right.
of women who is supposed to be the weaker sex, if you would. However, it's not necessarily our lot, it's what we've been given.
Right.
But I also think that we can also learn from what has been, so that we won't have to go through. And so that's another part in this that I want the girls to understand. You don't have to, and young women, you don't have to do the same things. You can actually course correct, even when you didn't go through the course. You see, and you say I don't want,
Right.
and you do the work to not do.
That part.
Yes. And that's what that's ultimately what I want for our girls, is to see what's going on and say and make a decision. I don't want that.
Right.
And not only I don't want that, I need to do this so that I don't won't get that.
Yeah. That's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal. We have normalized, and going back, I'm sorry, going back to Micaiah Bryant, we
Yeah.
normalized that, oh, they were fighting. How there are countless videos of us
Yeah.
fighting. So as soon as that video came out, that was it. Everything just went away. Why? Because this is what we do. This is the norm. We go to each other's house and get addresses, and we go and we fight. This is what we have been conditioned to be told about ourselves. This is what they think about us. This is what we think about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normal. And like you said, to see something different when you have been conditioned, and this goes with anything, when you have been conditioned to believe that abnormal and toxicity and
Mm-hmm.
error is normal, it is hard
Yeah.
to unlearn what is wrong and make the effort to do what is right, because right is abnormal. But if we
Mm-hmm.
can change the narrative, what you said is so true. We all don't need the story of us coming up out the hood and almost getting shot and going to jail and fighting and carrying on and doing that, but I made it. No. How about you just make it?
Right.
Just make it. Just make it and pass that on to your children and your children's children. No, we don't have to fight.
Yeah.
We really don't have to fight. I share with my children my stories, but I'm like, I'm sharing this with you so that you don't do it. I don't that it ain't gonna never be cute to me. None of it. None of it. It ain't gonna never be cute. It ain't gonna never be normal. I'm never gonna laugh at it. I'm never gonna shrug my shoulder to it. It is never. I grew up in it. I grew up all up
Yes.
in it. It's never
Yes.
gonna be normal, and I'm never gonna think
Mm-hmm.
it's cute. And you and your friends, and they know, they'd be like, "Oh my, yup,"
Mm-hmm.
because y'all gonna get this. You're gonna thank me when you're my age, because
Mm-hmm.
it is only the grace of God that I did not fall into that
Absolutely.
pattern. I could have,
Absolutely.
like so many of us, because of
Mm-hmm.
the environment. It's so easy to get sucked into that.
Yes,
And
it
we
is.
didn't have social media. We didn't
Yeah.
have it in our face all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this book, so how is it going to work? When is it launching? When is it being published? How is it coming out?
All right. So within a week, I'm going to say within a week. I'm not going to give a necessarily a date, but within a week, because we're still working out the kinks. It's going to be on ebook form, so they can definitely get it on Amazon. There are other affiliations that I'm actually working on it being in other than Amazon. So I am going to definitely post that on my Facebook page, Candice A. Whigham, author. So I really encourage people to go on there and like that, because and I also have a book to like. What is it called? Book to like, book to look. So book to look is going to booktolook.org also has will have also my book, so that those different places where they can get that as well. And I'm going to put that on my Facebook page as well. You asked about an Instagram. I need to do that. I need to get one. I know that is very popular, so
Yeah.
I'm working on that too. But I definitely am going to have those in different affiliations so that people can get the book. I mean, we need to hear not new wisdom that has made people have allowed us to live, and
Right.
not only have allowed us to live, but also helped us to get through even when we didn't want to hear it. Because the truth be told, there are some things we heard that in the midst of doing some foolishness, we hear it. We hear that
Right.
wisdom calling out. and we're like, okay, wait a minute, no, that ain't right. But if you don't hear it in the first place,
Right.
you never got that any foundation, anybody telling you anything different, then you're still going to go on that same path. But I believe this, Stacy. I believe that God has granted us the wisdom, some intuition is what we call it. But I believe that because we're spirit beings, He shared things with us. She talked to he and she talked to us, and I'm saying he she because I believe not only that God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but also in the word where it talks about the many breasted one, that is the characteristic of a woman, to have many breasts, to feed out everybody. So that's a characteristic that, hey, we should not overlook as women and just say that, oh, it's only to the man or the mankind, if you would. And I'm not trying to be new age, so please don't think that it's new age.
I'm following you. Yeah.
Thank you. But I just think that, hey, God has us in mind, and He definitely has put something in us that that tells us that, hey, something's not right. Something is not right. And I want to share this with you guys. My daughter, she and I, we went someplace, and when I walked in the room, I felt a little uneasy. I didn't know what it was. Nobody was doing anything weird. Thank you for liking it. No one was doing anything weird. But I just felt uneasy. But because I said I was going, I came.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't just going to leave. I looked at my daughter, who was around 8 or so around at that time. I looked at her, and she looked uneasy. And I was like, okay, what are you thinking? What's going on with you? And she's like, I don't know, Mom. I don't know. I feel some kind of way. In her own words, she said, I feel some kind of way. And I said, okay. And not in probably 5 minutes after that, maybe less, I get a phone call from my husband, who had just fallen down from like 10 height of 10 feet on the ground and broke his arm. Just broke his arm. So we packed up and we left, right? But my point in saying that is our children have the spirit of discernment as well. God gives that to us even when we're young.
Mm-hmm.
And it is up to us, the mothers and the women in the community, to cultivate what is inside of them. And so that's what we have to do. We have to do that, for what our girls are having to struggle with, having to contend with now. As you said, there were some things that we didn't even have to do with. We didn't have to deal with when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to the extreme as they, but we still have to deal with it. But we have to be consciously focused in on what's going on with them, especially as a young age, so that they don't have to deal with the same stuff that we've dealt with. Now, if they choose to, that's on them.
Right.
But they are getting it, and they just choose another way. Hey, God bless them, and we still gonna love them through it. But they still need to be taught. They have to be loved through it. We have to allow them to be discerning. We have to allow them to question.
Absolutely.
We have to allow them to do that, even when we don't want to hear it. And I know it.
Yeah. Every other culture has their thing. Nobody's perfect, but every other culture has their thing, and we need to do this. We need to do the same as well. Somebody has to break the cycle. Like, somebody has to break the cycle to, I'm going to do better. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what, passing down things from generation to generation, like good things. I don't know what this looks like, but I'm going to start somewhere. I'm not sure how to do it, but the good things that I've picked up, I gotta share it and make sure that, it's ingrained and imparted enough where they know that that's what you share. Like this is what we do. It has to be normalized, and we have to
Yes.
have conversations. There's music that I listen to because I listen to, what they, see what's going on, and I just be like, Father, but then, they're like, well, you listen to Little Kim and this, and I'm like, yes, you are absolutely right. I did listen to Little Kim and Foxy Brown, and then we have the conversation. But it's about having the conversation. It's about
Absolutely.
having the conversation and not being afraid to have the conversation. But I feel like if we, because I sometimes it's a trust thing, especially with women, and if we can have those conversations amongst peers, then that'll help us open to have the conversations. Just because I have a conversation with my child about sex does not mean that they're going to go out and do it. They're going to go out and do whatever they're going to do regardless. But I would rather us have the conversation. There has been things that they've come back to me and said to me that was secondhand information that they came back and told me, because that's not what they heard the first time from their mother.
Absolutely.
It's just the conversations. And I didn't have these conversations with my mother. I didn't have these. There's so many things, and not blaming, because we do what we know, and that's all we can do is all we know. But I think about the conversations that I didn't have with my mother, and the things that I learned the hard way. And I always said, whenever I have children, especially girls, I'm going to make sure that the dialogue is open. Yes. I don't care what it is.
Yes.
My oldest, she called me one night. She texted me. And she said, I have something to tell you, but I don't want to, I'm afraid to tell you because I don't want you to be, she said, disappointed or whatever she said. And this is via text. And she said, I'm going to call you tomorrow. So, of course, she was in college. I wanted to dial her and be like, what is going on? I really wanted to get in my car and but couldn't do that. So I texted her and I was like, whatever it is, like, I'm never going to be that angry with you. Like, you're my child. And it wasn't, thank God, it wasn't as bad, because it could have been anything. And I was holding my breath and I'm like, oh, girl, okay. All right. Amen. Like, that's it? Yeah. Okay. Up in college, it could have been the whole heat, but the fact that, one, she could have kept it a secret and not told me.
Right.
And two, she valued what my response would have been. But the most important thing was, because my response was not what she expected, because she let herself down. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse, because you already know, because we've had the conversation. So now you got to sit and live with your feelings and flush those out. But just know that you're my child. It ain't going to never be that bad. It ain't going to never be that bad, because one, God doesn't do that to us. And he loaned you to me, so I can't do that to you.
Right.
So yeah, this is such a good conversation.
You know what? Let me say this before I know you're gonna move on, but I was just talking to my mom about how I was telling her about something that she used to tell me, and I didn't realize how much what she thought mattered to me. And it was something that was small. But when I told her, I said, Mom, when you told me this, even though I may look like, okay, I really, really value that. And she was like, you were listening to me? Sometimes I do kind of be like, well, okay. All right, Mom, whatever. And so, and she'll just go on by her business. But I do. And that's, and even at 44, I'm going to say how old I am. At 43, let me say that. I'm turning 44 years. I'm a hold on.
Listen, black don't crack.
But so even then, I still value what she says, and and so when you have your children, your daughters, like you're older now. You have your girls are older, that they listen, and they actually are holding on to that, and they value your opinion. They value what you think. They trust you. And that's a big thing when your children trust you.
Right. Because it's not automatic.
It's not. It's not.
It's not automatic. Because you know why? Not only do they listen, but they watch.
Yes, that's it.
And that's something that we miss.
That's it.
Long are the days of do as I say and not as I do. You can't do that. And children, we don't give them enough credit for being as smart as they are. Because my children will call me out. I'm not wilding out, but certain things, and they'll be like, so this funny thing. I'm a licensed minister. So anytime I get, they be like, all right, minister. They check me. And I'm like, I couldn't run from this and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I have to be accountable too. I haven't arrived. I have not arrived. I have to be accountable too. So they be like, all right, minister. And I'm like, all right, let me put the hood away because I'm about to all right. And I acquiesce and I'm like, okay, I hear y'all. All right, let me rein myself back, because sometimes it be like that. But they watch. Yeah. So when your actions, and I'm not perfect, but when your actions match up with your words, and your desire to be, who you are, they watch that. They watch that.
Yes, they do. I totally agree. Somebody just sometimes they're moving so fast, so but I do get a glimpse of some keywords that are said. But they was talking about our children. We must talk to our children about sex and life, because if we don't, someone else will. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is very important, especially as Black girls and Black women, period. We already are we're seen as we're over sexualized.
Right.
And so the idea is that because you got this pop, you got the breast, you got the, because our girls grow older, develop faster. You got the breast, you got the butt, you got to be ready. And so it puts in our girls' mind that, okay, this is what it can put in our minds that, hey, I'm supposed to be prepared to meet the male's gaze. I'm supposed to be, I got to be this fine specimen of a woman, even at 11,
right,
at 10 years old, so that, this dude can look at me and want me. Why?
Right.
Who told you that? Who told you that? And that, which brings me to that scripture where when Adam and Eve were in the garden, and when they ate of the fruit, and they were so, and goodness, I'm messing it up. But when Adam said that, you said that if we eat of the fruit, and I know I'm butchering this, but if we eat of the fruit, we'll be able to see and this and out of that. And then God said, who told you that?
Right. Who told you were naked?
This way. Who told you that this was it? We've been deceived for a long time to believe that what we have is just to be given away frivolously.
Given away, put on display.
On display, yes, honey, yes.
Yeah.
Frivolously. You already fine. You're gonna be fine no matter what you put on. I need us to understand that, because we're just built wonderfully. So no matter what we put on, our bodies are going to shine, if you would. We don't have to do all of that other stuff. But who told us that we had to?
Right.
Who did we believe that tricked us so that we will be the most unprotected, that we will be more likely to be raped or molested at a very young age? And I know that the statistics are 1 in 4 girls are raped by the age of 18. Those are only reported. Now,
Right.
if we segment that into our community, because we know that there's different things that happen in our community that are we never reported, and and if they are reported, what you doing? Why are you
Right.
talking about that? What you do? Oh, she was just fast.
Mm.
All of that foolishness, which stops us from being our best selves, first of all, but it also stops us from talking about what has happened to us. And sharing it with somebody that could do something about it. Because I appreciate the conversation that we have when we're talking about, us surviving molestation and rape and all of those different things. But the piece that is always missing. So what happened to the attacker? Were they able to go on to another child? Were they able to get arrested? What was the family? Did the family members do something to stop this person? And usually that's not the case. They're able to go on to continue. And yes, they have their own issues as well. But why does a child have to hold that so that they can go on with their lives and probably do it again and again and again.
Right. Right.
And that's why I think that a lot of that piece is with sharing our stories, because we know ain't nothing gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that's another unfortunate piece, that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
That goes with the sex, because and we don't and the beautiful girl. Okay, I think I'm just talking about how beautiful sex is when it's with someone who loves you and you love them,
Right.
and preferably married to.
Right.
That is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get that because we just getting the smashing and the girl he fine and oh we did
Yeah.
this and all that, but not talking about the underlining of what sex is,
Right.
what it was
Right.
purposed for, not just for you to create a child, but there was some real love that happens with sex.
Right. Right.
But we that's not, those pieces are not what we get, even as
Yeah.
adults.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not what's told. It's not what's taught about it being like, a form of worship and two people coming together and it being this dance and just the spiritual aspect of it. Because where's the people that know this?
yeah,
Who has the information that can actually share it?
yeah,
And where are the
yeah,
environments where it will be accepted? Because it's two polar extremes. It's either lustful and raunchy or it's nasty and ungodly. And then when it does become godly, then people don't know about it because there's just been conversation, especially in the church, and this is just a whole nother topic, about how sex is not talked about. It's not discussed. Like what it is
mm-hmm,
more other than just procreation. And
mm-hmm,
because of that, then you have people, it's just two polar opposites. It's either going to be defiled or
mm-hmm.
it's going to be defiled. Either way, it's going to be
Right.
defiled to the point where it's lustful or it's going
Yeah.
to be defiled where it's ungodly. And it's not ungodly. It's ungodly in the wrong context, but in
Mm-hmm.
the right context, it's beautiful. And
Absolutely.
so we don't have those conversations, and we can't have those conversations as adults because we grew up as adults having been children, not having the information.
Right.
So now you have a bunch of children. It's just a cycle.
Or you have, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you,
No,
but
yes.
or you have this girl who has been told keep yourself. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't let them do this to you. Don't let them do that. And then, but the conversation is not being had with the boy or the man who you're dating. So, or because what they're hearing is totally opposite of what this girl who's trying to keep herself totally, trying to keep herself. They hearing go sow your own oats, go out as many girls as you can, and this could be in the church and out of the church. And we're not talking about the church or anything. This is just a dynamic that we need to touch on as well. You hear these guys are getting totally different messages that girls have gotten. And so when they come together, it's like the girl is like, wait a minute, I was holding myself out and all of that, but dude comes with all of these different, all these different spirits, all of these different maybe STDs, all of these different baby mamas, all of these different things. But hold on, I've been taught that I'm supposed to keep myself. How am I keeping myself? What's the conversation that's happening with the dudes? Right. And that's a whole nother story that is not shared. We don't know what's going on in the conversation with the men. I can tell you from the conversations that I've heard, they ain't getting good ones.
No. Or they're not getting anything. No, they're not getting anything, and they're also coming with an ideal. So now you have two people who are not on the same page, because how can you tell a guy who is used to, doing what he do and not being taught? It's like
and not having any consequences behind it. Let me say that too.
Yeah, not having any consequences behind it, and then but all of the onus is put on the woman. So it's like, you don't settle for somebody unless they're going to respect your wishes to abstain from sex. How can they respect that when that has not been their makeup? That has not, and that's not to say that God can't do, can't turn it off and can't whatever, but there's so many that don't have that story. So it's just tough, but it's not the conversations that are being, to your point, that they're either having the wrong conversation or nobody is saying anything. And then what is happening? Then the television, television, the songs, the lyrics, and rap. So these boys who are horny and they come into themselves and they trying to figure out who they are, and they have all this pent up. They don't know what to do with it, and nobody is having the conversation with them. So what are they expecting? I'm not, what are they expected to do?
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying that we're not saying that there are no one that's having these conversations. I've met some understanding guys who are having those conversations and are living it. But there is an overwhelming majority that are not being taught. And our girls are being introduced to these people and these guys who are not being taught that it's okay to not, just because you want to hit doesn't mean you don't have to.
Right.
They're not being taught that. And there are some girls who are they trying to get themselves, they're trying to just to miss that. Right. But the overwhelm, again, we're talking about the collective. So you have these connections of kids, of young people, and even adults who are just going in for the kill, but not even thinking about the ramifications behind it.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing how this is playing out in real time. Every day we see it.
Yeah.
Because we're not, the conversations are not being had on a grand scale. Let me say that, because I believe that there are, of course we know that individual conversations are happening, but in a grand scale, It's not. It's not. You
Yeah.
know, and it's our community is suffering. We see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like the wake of George Floyd and everything that happened last year kind of cracked the surface a little bit where there is conversation having happening, but I think it's happening on a higher scale with us as adults
Mm.
first, which is important because
Mhm.
we can't teach the youth anything that we haven't ourselves kind of like gotten together. So I do see conversations,
Mhm.
but quickly, to your point, we got to kind of go down the totem pole to the younger generation, um, and get them the information that we missed,
Yeah,
and
I
work
agree.
feverishly.
I
We,
agree.
we can't wait until they're 40 to talk to them when we 80. We got to talk to them now when they 14 and 4 and 24 or whatever. We got to start talking to them now, and I feel like this book, especially for our young girls, is going to be just so eye opening for all women, for all queens. This is going to, I'm so excited about it. If I wasn't a contributor, I would still be excited for it. Let me just let the record reflect. I will still be excited. I would still be excited because I haven't seen anything like this. But because I have contributed to this amazingness,
Yes.
I'm honored. I'm honored, and
Thank you. I'm
I'm
honored.
proud. I'm proud to be a part. Now, my last question: do you think? I know you said it's an ebook. Do you think you would eventually ever go to print with the book?
I actually have been thinking about that. I have been thinking about that. So it is highly possible. It's highly possible. I'm definitely trying to get through this stage. It's my first time with the ebook. So I'm getting through this stage and I want to see how that pans. And then, but I think that it will probably be more tangible in the hands of, I
Mhm.
know we're in a digital age and all of that kind of stuff, but I think that, you know, just holding a book in your hand, you
Yes.
know, cannot be replaced with a laptop or a Kindle or, whatever. It can't. So it's highly possible. Highly
Good.
possible.
Good.
Yes.
I'll pass you on some publishing information. I know an amazing publisher if you don't have one.
Okay. Thank
Um,
you.
I'll send you her information. She is amazing.
Okay.
She she's amazing. She's working on my current book. She has a whole publishing company. She's fantastic. Um, so yeah, but I was asking that because I could just see like a book and a workbook and these young girls just working through their things and
You know what? Let me tell you, Stacy, you in the spirit, girl, because I was thinking about that workbook too. I
listen.
was. I was. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah, and
gosh.
I love tangible. I love writing and things like that. And I just saw it. I just felt it like this would be. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm gonna let the Lord do what He gonna do. But that I just that's yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for this initiative. Do you have any final thoughts before we close?
Um, yeah. I just want to share this. When I was a senior in high school, this young lady, her name was Africa. I met her only one time, and that one time she gave me a book. This was like for my graduation present. Like again, it was like a month or so before my graduation. Never met this woman before, but whatever I did, it left an impression on her. And she gave me this book called Wisdom Wit and Wisdom from Black Folks. And that little book I still have from this day. That was 1995. So what was that? 26 years ago. Oh my goodness. Was it 20?
Mm.
Oh my God. I,
Child.
yes. I still have that book to this day. And that actually is how the book is actually framed. Just the contents of how that book was written is how this book is written, and it's easily read. But I guess my point is saying that too. That woman, whatever we talked about, and whatever impression that I made on her as an older woman, and what she impressed upon and that she would give that to me to live my life, because I actually would read that throughout my years. Throughout my years, I've been given to my daughters to make sure that they read. It does, what we do does leave an imprint on each other. And so we have to make sure that we are leaving imprints that are going to last and that is going to be impactful. Will that be for everybody that we come in contact with? Most likely not. Of course not. But what we can do and could do is be intentional about leaving impressions on people's lives that could eventually change their lives. So that's my last things I want to say. So again, to Black girls everywhere, this is for you. I love you. Your aunties love you. And I can't wait for it to get in your hands via Chromebook, via tablet, via PCs, personal computers, whatever you have. I can't wait for you to see it and to be having those conversations with the women in your life, and that those women have honest conversations with you so that you can grow and be the woman that you are destined to be. And that's all I have.
Child, I feel like crying. I'm like, yes, Lord, I'll be the woman you told me to be. I don't know if it's the hunger. This was fantastic. This was fantastic. Candice, let me tell y'all something. This is the first time that me and this beautiful gem is actually speaking like in person, kind of online. We still cannot remember how and where the connection came from, but I declare, as my grandmother would say, I declare it was definitely divine. It was definitely divine.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule on this Friday night to come on my podcast. This has been a great closing to this season 2.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for the words of wisdom. I cannot wait until this ebook comes out. I cannot wait to see how well it does. I cannot wait to hear the feedback. I cannot wait until the printed version and all the initiative. I just see an initiative. Like, I just can't wait to see where and how far this goes for our princesses and, upcoming queens and things. Kudos to you. Thank you so much, Candice. I'm just so grateful. Thank you again for accepting the invitation and coming to chat with me. I'm sure it will not be your last time. We got the Wi-Fi and all of that. So I'm grateful for that. So I'm going to close out. I'm going to send you to the back, and I'm going to close out, and then we'll connect really quickly. Okay.
All right. God bless you, and thank you.
You too. Listen, y'all, I am just over the moon. There's nothing. Let me tell you something. When God do stuff, he be doing stuff. I'm just in awe. I'm in awe at how God moves, how he connects people. And you don't even know like why he's doing what he's doing and why he's placing people in your life and having people come into your space. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to Candice. I will keep you all abreast on when the ebook is coming out. Go follow her page. Go to book. I think it's bookslayer.org. I'm going to put the information in the chat. And then the Amazon link as well. Support her. She's doing something great. She's an educator. She's a wife. She's a mother. She's doing this for the culture. We talk about doing stuff for the culture, right? Doing stuff for the culture is always fashionable and stuff like that. But doing stuff for the culture can be things that's going to help to push our people forward. And that's what she is doing. So thank you all for tuning in. This wraps up season 2 of Cultivating Conversations. But before I go, just one more time, we have a week from tomorrow, y'all. Okay, I am celebrating 10 years in business with my beauty brand, I Design Beauty, 187 Martine Avenue in White Plains. Next week, June the 5th from 12 to 6. You can come at any time. COVID restrictions will be enforced. Come sip, shop, and celebrate with me 10 years as a Black woman in business. And I'm excited. So you can go onto my I Design Beauty page to get the information. I'll share it in this in this thread as well. I love you all. Thank y'all for rocking with me for season 2. I'll probably be back in August or September. I just need some time to recalibrate, just reflect on this season and come back bigger and better again. Shout out to Justified Get'ems from St. Lucia. Shout out to my St. Lucia Massive. Because I'm global, y'all, right? I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm global because I got St. Lucia in the house. So Justified, I love y'all. Auntie Sandy, Serena, those of you who are gonna catch the replay, listen, share, look out for this ebook for your nieces and your granddaughters and your goddaughters and your daughters, your sisters, yourself. I think that this is going to be a page turner. This is going to be a conversation starter. Is going to be something that's going to break barriers with conversations. So support our good sis, Candice A. Whigham. Okay, so I will see you all. Listen, be safe. COVID is still out there. What I always say, wash your hands, love each other, mind your business, mind the business that pays you. Let's take care of one another. Be safe out there. Enjoy your summer. Shout out to the July babies because my birthday is in July. So shout out to everyone. And I will see you all. I will see you all in a couple of months. All right. Peace out.